911, what is the address of your emergency?
78. Help!
Aliens about 1 operator 6180. What's the address of your emergency? 1797 Sumter Street. We're being robbed at gunpoint.
No. They're following me to my house. The guns are already out. She's shooting. Okay.
Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On this week's episode, we take you to the volunteer state of Tennessee. Did you know it was called that? I didn't either. For an episode which we are calling Road Rage Intervention. Now, we've done a lot of road rage in the past. This one's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to turn to the panel right now. Has anyone here ever gotten mad at another driver? We all have. We all have. Now, how you deal with that anger?
Well, you know, someone told me once that the man who angers you conquers you. And I've carried that through my whole life. And I remember what the man was Eldon Mueller, he's a mentor of mine. Every time I catch myself getting angry, I remind myself, whether it was on duty or in my car.
Have you ever gotten mad at another driver?
A few times.
Okay, yeah, right, okay. And how do you deal with that?
Well, if they really make me angry, I just talk to myself. You know, I can't believe that this person did that, and I try always to think of what's safe and what's not safe. And as somebody who's driving a car, which is a weapon, I mean, it's thousands of pounds of force, it's a weapon, you're responsible for making sure that you're not going to hurt anybody through your actions driving.
Right.
I just generally laugh it off. Before I do any action, I would ask, would this embarrass my parents?
Ooh, good question. Yeah, that's a nice way to stop. You know, I've made a concerted effort to stay in lane number 2. Do you always drive in lane 1? Sure we do.
Yeah,
Most people do. Everybody wants to go to lane 1 because we're in a hurry. You know, when you go to lane 2 and you make a concerted effort to stay in lane 2, it's a whole nother psychology for you. And interestingly enough, what I've discovered is I not only now have to worry about the car behind me, but the car in front of me, and keeping a particular distance. When you're in lane 1, you're just kind of blowing down the highway, and you're watching for somebody behind you, hopefully, and you're pulling out of that lane. The guy that doesn't pull out of that lane, that's the guy. That's the guy that's going to get me angry. And I admit I will go around him and I will look at him, and that's probably a mistake because we lock eyes, and in most cases, and I'm going to say this about Texas, in most cases, they look at you like, yeah, what's the matter? So I don't think people get, if you're in lane 1 and you see someone coming up behind you, get out of the lane, please. If you're law enforcement, write them a ticket. Okay, all right, let me go to the facts. I did some research. A number of studies have found that individuals with road rage are predominantly young, 33 years of age. I don't think that's a surprise. Predominantly male. I'm not going to be surprised there at 96%. Here's an interesting statistic, though. In Germany, a gun-wielding truck driver was accused of firing at over 762 vehicles before he was arrested. Well, that's pretty amazing. But there you go.
Wow.
Might be a world record.
It could be a world record. Yes, it would have to be, huh? When we come back, though, I'm going to show you part 1 of Road Rage. This is going to be one we want to really look hard at because this is easy for people to get drawn into. Don't go away. Thank you for coming back, viewers. We're going to see Road Rage Intervention Part 1. Again, I'm going to say to you, this is a very difficult road rage event. Let's watch one.
Really? Watch where you're going, you jerk! Are you blind? Get out here. Am I blind? You're the one who needs an eye exam. You've been tailgating me for miles before you merged into my car. Well, maybe you shouldn't have been driving so slow. Maybe you should try, I don't know, not speeding. Maybe you should learn how to drive. Shut up. You could have killed me with that stunt, you stupid piece of...
Okay, I think we can all start by agreeing that if an event like this takes place, don't leave your car. Okay, the first person to leave his car, if you're law enforcement and you roll up, the first person that left their car is probably going to be the guilty party. Is that fairly safe to say?
At the very least, he's obstructing traffic.
Yeah, at the very least, right.
At the very least.
Right. So don't leave the car. I mean, we all get upset with drivers. We've all admitted to that it happens to all of us. But at some point, as we've said in many shows in the past, you've got to check your emotion and go, wait a minute, is this really worth it? Because now what we are seeing are 3 people involved, maybe 4 people involved, but certainly 3 vehicles involved. Mm-hmm. And what else did you see go wrong here?
I would just have to ask, what was his end game? What were they planning on accomplishing?
Good point. Good point.
Well, I think they were just being macho.
And I've always said there's no dishonor in walking away from a bar fight. There's really no dishonor walking away from the middle of a highway fight. There's nothing going to be accomplished, like you said, in that road except someone's going to get hurt and someone's going to get arrested.
Right. Again, these are real reenactments of real crimes. But I'll bet this happens probably more often than not, at least in part 1, okay? I'm not gonna say that in part 2 that it happens the way that it happens. But there's a lot of things that you can do to avoid this. I think we've probably spoken to some of them. What legally do I need to keep in mind if I'm going to lose my emotion and I'm going to get angry with someone? At what point am I starting to cross that legal line?
When you put that other person in fear of their life or fear of imminent harm, you have just lost. You have just committed a crime. At this point, we're looking at the crimes, misdemeanor assault, menacing, obstructing traffic, and all to accomplish absolutely nothing.
In addition, he's causing a public disturbance.
Okay.
I mean, they both are. They probably both should go to jail. But as you pointed out earlier, the person that started it is primarily at fault, but they are both engaging in a fight in public. I would say they both need to go to jail.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, so at this point, if law enforcement rolls up, they're the 4th car, okay? And what's going on? So they get out and what's on your mind? What are you thinking when you see a couple of guys in the street, there's cars parked, people around? What are you looking for?
It's a problem because you've got a traffic issue, a safety issue, and now I've got to break up a fight in progress, which means either one of these people may be turning on me or both.
Right.
The crowd I mean, there's so much involved in this for a police officer. It's a real mess, but I can tell you, someone's probably going to jail.
Yeah, if not both. Okay, let me quickly just say this because I'm looking back on some experiences that I've had. You've got 2 guys that are really banging away on one another, but it's a fisticuff, okay? In this particular case, I think it wasn't probably a fair fight. But if it were a fair fight, do you let them fight it out? Because you're hollering at them and they continue to fight. What's your next move going to be? How are you going to solve this problem?
Some departments, especially the larger city departments, are telling officers, you cannot do X, Y, and Z unless you have backup. Like, you cannot go into an empty house where there might be a burglar inside unless you have backup there. So there's certain things that we used, when I got into police work, we used to do all the time, single unit calls, and now they're telling us more and more on those type of calls, don't do anything. So most police officers would wait for backup unless I think there was an obvious weapon.
And when we come back, we will continue with Sarah's comment and maybe have more. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. Just when we left, Sarah was making some very interesting points, and I want to go back to that before I show you part 2. Sarah?
The other police officers in the area are listening to the dispatcher just like the officer who arrives. If there's a departmental policy that one officer cannot deal with the particular situation, then backup should be there quickly. Hopefully the people who are fighting are not rolling into traffic. If they are, then the officer is going to have to deal with it absolutely immediately.
And a weapon comes out.
And a weapon comes out.
And you're by yourself.
And well, then you do as you were trained. You issue verbal commands, they don't follow it, then something else is going to happen.
All of a sudden a knife appears. Okay, now what are you going to do?
Well, there's an imminent danger of someone being injured,
Right.
so
Right.
then the weapon's coming out. Normally in a fighting situation, my weapon's not coming out.
Right.
But when a weapon comes out, that
Changes
becomes the issue. You know, whatever's going on over here
Right.
is no longer the issue. The weapon is the issue.
Right. And when you do that, now it becomes much more complicated because you've got 2 guys, somebody's got a weapon, and you have to stop somebody right now from getting hurt. So it gets very complicated at that point. And I just wanted to throw that in because I know that it can happen that way, and decisions have to be made rather quickly. Stay in the car. If you don't get out of the car, we don't have anything to talk about here. Let's watch part 2.
Shut up! You could have killed me with that stunt, you piece of shit!
Seems kind of one-sided.
Ugh. I'm gonna call 911.
I don't think he's gonna last that long.
Wait! Crap.
Hey, buddy, just calm down, okay? Let him up.
Stay out of this!
Hey, you're gonna kill him. Stop or I'll shoot.
Just be cool. I'm leaving.
Hey, man, you all right? Take it easy. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Okay, there's, I don't even know where to start on this one because there were so many things in there that I saw were questionable. At minimum, they would be questionable. Where do you want to start, LT?
Well, once again, his wife had some good advice. Stay in the car and call 911. And because rarely is a guy going to be beaten to death. You know, that's rarely going to happen. And you look at the difference in size. Well, he gets out of the car. There's no taking that move back. He did something I didn't like. He put his finger on the trigger. He did some other things that, okay, you're out of the car. I did like in that he gave real clear verbal commands. When the guy left, he let him leave, and he reholstered his weapon, and then he attended to the victim. Those are the things I liked. Whether he should have got out of the car or not, I think he'd have been
That's
best.
a tough call. If we roll that back a little bit, where is his legal obligation as the third car coming into this incident? Is there one?
There is no legal obligation. And in all honesty, he could probably be charged with felony menacing it if the other guy were so inclined to go file a police report.
Well, that's a good point. And I know there has to be a legal good or bad here one way or another. Let me ask you this, Sarah. You're the second person in the third car, the female. You go into the glove box and you bring out your gun. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think she would have been better off to go in her purse and get her cell phone, frankly.
I like that answer. I like that answer a lot.
And if she really wanted to be a good witness, we've talked a lot about good citizens being good witnesses, exit the vehicle to the right, the passenger side. She's not in traffic. She walks over and she can give the dispatcher the plate and the description of the first vehicle, the actual assailant. He threw the first punch.
Is she armed?
Well, this woman chose to be. Frankly, in the situation where she doesn't know what's going to happen, that's probably a good decision.
Okay. You know, the gunplay part coming out of the glove box, I mean, those are something that we, you know, you have to kind of guess at how that took place. You know, I kind of worry about accidental discharges and things like that in a vehicle when you're handling guns, but that may just be me. I like the idea of the witness part a lot.
Her gun was not loaded, correct, James?
It appeared as though she was
racked
trying.
it,
Yeah, she racked it. Right. That was the part that made me uncomfortable, actually.
Why are you carrying a gun that doesn't have a bullet in the chamber? I mean,
you know, you tell me. You folks at home, you saw what we saw. Get a hold of me on Facebook. Give me your indications of what you thought should have or should not have taken place there. But I was really uncomfortable with that. You know, we go back to that being a good witness thing. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that, because if it's a physical fight, you got to think how many times you hear a man beaten to death. They fight it out. The cops, all you got to do is get the sirens coming, and 9 times out of 10, that's going to separate the fight. And in a jurisdiction where cops are only a few minutes away, police officers arriving on the scene usually end the fight in most cases one way or the other. But we don't want to have that action imperative just because we're carrying a firearm, because you don't have the authority.
Yeah, I'm not even comfortable with the fact that the third car driver got out. Now, I'm going to stop right there. Who are you to analyze what's taking place up there, and suddenly you're armed and you're going to get out and get involved?
Well,
don't do that.
Well, if I were representing the first person in a civil suit against the other guy, the one with the gun, I would ask him, don't you think that's pretty arrogant that you stepped in the place of the entire law enforcement and judicial system?
Right. That's a real good point. Hey, when we come back, we'll follow up on that. We'll tell you exactly what happened. Don't go away. Thanks for coming back. Off camera, we actually reviewed that film because I think as witnesses, we all saw something different. And I think we can say legally that, what's the expression? A live witness is the worst witness to have because everybody, right?
Eyewitnesses are the worst witnesses.
Yeah. So we're going to replay that together and look at it again.
Hey, buddy, just calm down, okay? Let him up.
Stay out of this!
Hey, you're gonna kill him. Stop or I'll shoot.
Just be cool. Believe it.
Yeah, okay. So what it appears to be that she went into the glove box, the gun is in a holster, she removes the holster, she clicks the safety off, she already has the phone on her, right? And I don't know how we missed that, but we did. But I think you were right. I think he did have his finger on the trigger, though.
I'm pretty sure he has his finger
so
on
that may be the one part that we did get right. The follow-up on this story, and I'm going to read this to you, and this is going to go back to something you said earlier about being a good witness. No arrests were made. Why is that? Because there was no one there when law enforcement arrived. They all left. So there was no one, there's no arrest to be made, and the man with the gun had a license to carry the gun. So it was like, okay, that's the end of that. So is the lesson learned here that if you're going to get involved, make a note of the license plate? Well, in law enforcement, I think everybody would, naturally. But as a good citizen out there, certainly we probably wouldn't expect you to do that. The other things that might have changed in there was I thought it was still a little dangerous to draw the weapon, even though the police said that there was a disparaging, the guy was much bigger than we were able to portray. And the guy was much smaller, and he was very concerned.
Disparity of force.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the reason why driver number 3 got involved.
One thing I liked about it was when he brought that weapon out, he always verbalized like a good guy would. And when you are the good guy, especially with officers coming to the scene, there's things they're going to analyze, and if you're talking like a good guy, they're going to be able to analyze this man with a gun might be the good guy. If you're talking, even though you are a good guy, like a bad guy, mistakes happen, are more likely to happen.
And that's tempting, too, because you want to give a strong voice command to break it up, so it could be misunderstood by law enforcement when they roll up. Huh? Those things can happen. Legally, are we, where are we here?
Very shaky ground. While in the armed citizen's mind, he may be protecting a third party, he doesn't know the circumstances, and he is stepping into the shoes of law enforcement, a job he's not trained for. He doesn't know these, well, we don't know that he knows these people, and he may be stepping into something that is bigger than him. And
well, I think one of the points you can tell where he's not trained as a law enforcement officer is once he reholsters his gun, he doesn't look in the direction that the bad guy has gone. The bad guy might have gone into his car, gotten his firearm, stepped out, and gone boom, boom.
With no fear involved there because he's just talking to another good citizen, as it turned out to be. We're running out of time. Again, this is one of those road rage events that we all like to avoid if we can. Don't get out of your car. Be safe, be trained, be alert. See you next week.